So, Jay Ruud, what lovable book are we talking about today?
Well, Stacey Margaret Jones, I'll give you a hint. Film noir.
Your hints.
All right,
Have I read this book?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't think so.
Okay. I'll need another hint.
Okay.
So, welcome to Between the Covers, the weekly podcast in which Jay Ruud introduces one book each week from his carefully cultivated list of the 100 most lovable novels in the English language. And at the beginning of each episode, I, author Stacey Margaret Jones, guess what book we might be talking about. So I'd like to ask him for officially the second hint, but I think the record should show that actually it would be the first hint because that other hint was no hint at all.
It certainly narrowed it down. Okay.
I guess.
Number 2, Bogart and Bacall.
Oh, okay. Asta comes to mind.
It does.
Wasn't there a dog named Asta in those books?
There was a dog named Asta in some books.
Not these, okay. Bogart and Bacall. The Maltese Falcon.
No, but that's a darn good guess.
Well, hint number 3.
Hint number 3, Philip Marlowe.
Yeah. The Third Man? No. Yes?
No.
No, that's
Third Man
Graham Greene.
Yeah.
And also not about this. This is some kind of film noir detective story. It's not Dashiell Hammett.
It's not Dashiell Hammett.
It's the other guy.
It's the other guy.
That's my guess. It's
right.
not Dashiell Hammett. It's the other guy, and it's a famous detective novel that I can't think of the name.
And you're very close in narrowing it down that
I got
way.
it right.
It's Raymond Chandler's The Big Sleep.
Okay, I will take half a point because I was trying to think of Raymond Chandler. I would have never guessed The Big Sleep. So,
Okay. Well,
there you go.
That's the...
It's half a win. It's a win for me, just like that first hint was a hint. I make the rules. All right. So before we go into this book a little more in depth, who else thinks that this is a lovable or worthwhile novel?
Well, let me just say that this novel was included on Time Magazine's 2005 list of the 100 best novels since 1923.
When did it come out?
It came out in 1939.
Okay, that's about what I thought.
But the movie came out in 1946.
Oh, okay.
It was a Howard Hawks movie, and nobody since 1946 has ever been able to read this book and not imagine Humphrey Bogart as Philip Marlowe. And in fact, probably as I do, imagine it in black and white as you're reading.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was trying to think of the author, I still was thinking of black and white images and film noir. I mean, noir.
Yeah, noir.
It's black.
Noir et blanc.
Yeah, exactly. Franche.
This is an amazing coincidence, but we are recording this on August 23rd. And the movie version of The Big Sleep came out on August 23rd, 1946. So this is the 79th anniversary of the movie's debut.
Right. That's crazy because we didn't set out to record today either. So
no,
that's
we did not.
interesting.
But fate had this in store for us.
Sure, that's what it was. Fate. How long is this book?
Oh, it's only a little more than 200 pages.
Okay.
I think. It's not
I
terribly long.
I have not read this book. The only way I thought I might have read it is if we read it aloud, but I don't think we have read this aloud.
But I did think that you might be able to guess The Big Sleep from the other clues because of the movie. Who else loves this book?
I don't think I've seen this movie.
Oh, well, then we'd better watch it.
Yes, who else loves this book?
Well, let me just preface this by saying that Dorothy Sayers, who's a crime novelist herself, a British crime novelist, also Dante scholar, famously wrote an essay on the detective story in which she said that the detective story does not, and by hypothesis never can, attain the loftiest level of literary achievement. And
That's a hot take.
that's, and Raymond Chandler took issue with that and responded that it always is a matter of who writes the stuff.
Exactly.
And what he has in him to write it with.
I wouldn't even say, because to me that's kind of a fixed mentality.
Yeah.
Who writes it? It's the way in which it is written, right?
Yeah.
I think you can't make any of those pronouncements about any genre.
No.
Because any genre can be written in a way to make it literary rather than plain fiction, right? Which is kind of one and done. Enjoyable, but not, you don't keep getting something out of it.
Yeah.
But you can write any genre in a literary way in which the reader keeps benefiting from a further read.
Yeah. So, I mean, there, at one time, I suppose, was a kind of prejudice against genre fiction as
well, there
being,
still is.
Well,
there
maybe.
still is.
But this particular novel has appeared on a lot of best novel
Right.
lists. It was on Time magazine, as I mentioned. It was on Time
Right.
magazine's 2005 list. It also was on the Guardian's and the Observer's top 100 lists. And those are like three very significant ones. The Atlantic recently in 2024 came out with a list of the great American novels, and it was on that list.
I was going to ask you if this kind of, detective noir fiction, is that a genre that originated in American fiction, or is it?
Well, I mean, the detective novel, of course, has its roots way back in, starting with
Sherlock Holmes.
Poe, actually, and going through Wilkie Collins and then, Sherlock Holmes and all of that.
But Poe is American.
Yeah.
Okay.
But specifically this hard-boiled detective, which is what Philip Marlowe is, and what Dashiell Hammett's detectives are.
Yeah.
Those novels are the hard-boiled detective, who's sort of impervious to emotion, and he's always has a cool exterior, but he wants to get to the bottom of every issue.
I always think of that kind of detective, though, as kind of flawed by some kind of trauma or tragedy. That they have a protective
it's a
casing, so to speak.
like the egg, like the hard-boiled egg.
Right, and there's because we watch so much crime drama, on Prime and Netflix and whatever else we can find.
Yeah.
And now, this is fascinating to me because are these the first kind of detectives like that? These are the originators of this persona?
It kind of originates in 1920s and 1930s pulp magazines.
Because now it's really a trope.
Oh, yeah.
The detective is so flawed, and the real, emotional heart of the story is really the detective, right? We watch for the suspense of the crime, but it's really the detective that has the kind of emotional center, right?
Yeah.
And it's really fascinating to me to go back to these novels when you talk about them and realize, like the Treasure Island, there was a time before this trope. Right?
Yeah.
And these are the originators of this kind of character that society took and ran with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's really fascinating that the people who first read this novel, this would have been a new presentation of this role.
Yeah, it's a new kind of hero.
Right.
Philip Marlowe has that exterior, but he is emotional inside. And he does feel for other characters, and he's protective of the women in the story. But I guess all the noir kind of detectives aren't quite that way. The ones in Dashiell Hammett's novels are, but probably the best-selling, I think, of all of the sort of crime authors of this generation was Mickey Spillane.
Oh yeah,
and
that's
his
I also
character
think of him.
Mike
Right.
Hammer. But the thing about Mike Hammer is he's not really a Philip Marlowe. He essentially is a hammer. And that's all he is.
And
In a
everything's
world
a
where
nail.
Everything looks like a nail.
Everything's a nail, and he's just going to beat
he's
everything
just-
down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's
it's
less
hard
nuance.
to see. No, there's.
Oh, okay.
He's, very black and white.
Okay.
But
Noir et blanc.
yeah.
Well, let's get him any more highlights of who else likes this novel before we move on.
There's some really interesting ones. In 1999, this novel was voted as number 96 on the French Le
Le Monde.
list of the 100 books of the century, which comprised novels from all over the world.
Right.
And so it
the
was-
Monde.
Yeah, exactly.
The world.
And it was on their list. And also there was a fascinating list that Literary Hub did in 2015 called, it was a survey of quintessential American fiction according to the rest of the world. So everyone voting
love it.
on this list was somebody outside of America who was voting on American books. And this book, The Big Sleep, came in as number 4 on
No
that
way.
list. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting because that gives you an idea of how people maybe want America presented to them.
Yeah.
Or who they trust to present America to them. Mm-hmm. I need to look at that list because that's kind of why I listen to the CBC's daily news show, and a lot of the times it's about the United States.
Yeah.
But that's interesting to me is how another country sees what's happening here. That's
Yeah.
why I listen to it.
And 2 other things. There's a list that was compiled by the Mystery Writers of America, an organization
Yeah.
that I once belonged to. That people who write mysteries
Right.
in America. And then there's another kind of rival list, the Crime Writer Association, and they both came out with a list of the 100 best crime novels of all time. And it ranked number 8 on the Mystery Writers of America list and number 2 on the Crime Writers Association list.
Wow. That's also just an aside. The Killer Nashville conference seems to be going on right now. I'm getting tons of emails about it.
Oh,
and we went
okay.
to that last year because my book was shortlisted for a prize.
Yes, it was.
Mr. Catherine was shortlisted for a Killer Nashville prize, so we went to the conference. I learned a lot of things. All right, so now that we've just thoroughly gone off the track, why don't you see if you can give us the down and dirty summary? Remember, it's what the book is about, not a plot outline. What's the log line? What's the elevator speech? Can you win the Harps of Glory, or will you be tarred and feathered with the trombone of shame? That's lots of mixed metaphors. Let's keep it going.
Okay. Philip Marlowe is a private detective. He's called to the home of General Sternwood, who's a rich old gentleman who has 2 daughters. The oldest one, Vivian, has an absentee husband named Rusty Regan, who's kind of disappeared. And there's a younger, wilder daughter named Carmen, who had been blackmailed by some guy named Joe Brody earlier and is now being blackmailed by some bookseller named Arthur Geiger. And the general wants Marlowe to get her out of this problem. And Marlowe looks into it. First,
Oh, man.
the older daughter wants to know if her father wanted him to find her missing husband, but he wouldn't tell her because the father is his client. The younger, he tracks down this Geiger character and finds out he's running a pornography ring. Crashes into his house one night. And finds him dead with the younger daughter all doped up and naked in front of a camera. And the plot gets thicker from there.
We're going to need about 76 trombones of shame.
All right.
So basically, it's a detective novel.
Yes.
And it starts with a crime, and there's a lot more going on.
Yes.
There you go.
That's true.
I won the Harps of Glory for myself. It reminds me of L.A. Confidential, because in the course of that movie, they kind of uncover this pornography ring.
Yeah.
So it kind of reminds me of that.
There's a little, yeah.
I'm sorry, where did you...
L.A. Confidential is probably inspired in some ways by this.
It's got the hard-bitten,
Yeah.
emotionally flawed detective.
Yeah.
Where did you say this movie is, or this book is set?
I didn't.
Oh, okay.
But
I
if you want to know,
it.
it is set in Los Angeles.
So I want to just give a little guidance. People may not have read this book, and your insightful and enthusiastic discussion of it may cause them to want to read the book. So watch out for spoilers, because in a detective novel, spoilers are truly injurious.
I know. And I did not give any spoilers. I only gave the first 20 minutes of the plot.
Oh my gosh.
No spoilers at all there.
Remember, it's what is the book about? Okay, so what makes this book lovable? Because we have already talked about, there's a number of detective books, right?
There are a lot of them.
We haven't even mentioned Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys. So...
None of which are on my list.
I bet not. I think I read all of the Nancy Drew books. My brother had the Hardy Boys series, and I read all of Nancy Drew. What makes this book lovable? Why did you pick this book? I'm assuming you don't have any other Chandler on your list.
No.
Do you have any Hammett that you think will make it?
That we will find out at a later time.
So this book is singular, right? It's a detective novel. You don't have a lot of those. What makes this book so lovable that it's on your list, even though it's genre fiction?
Well, the character of Marlowe is one thing.
That's Humphrey Bogart.
The character of Humphrey Bogart is one of the reasons why this is so lovable. And Chandler himself wrote an essay that appeared in The Atlantic in December of 1944. In which he criticized traditional British mysteries like those of Dorothy Sayers because they failed to present events or characters or language that felt like the real world that people lived in.
Right. And I mean, you read crime because you're kind of confronting a fear, I think, and you want it to feel more real, right?
Yeah.
Like more that veritas, right?
Yeah. And he said the people in those stories did kind of unreal things to conform to an artificial pattern in the plot. Mm-hmm. And his goal was to make sure that the characters and the language were like the real world, especially the real world of crime.
So we go back to what we said in the beginning, which is the way it is written makes it literary versus plain, right?
Yeah. And in that essay, Chandler talks about Dashiell Hammett.
Positively?
Yeah. He talks about why...
I know you like Hammett.
Why he's a much more realistic writer than these British... Dorothy Sayerses and Agatha Christie, for that matter.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, is the best-selling author in the world.
Agatha Christie.
Yeah.
But he's critical of her because it doesn't feel real.
He's critical of British fiction, British detective fiction in general.
It's very mannerist in a way too, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, this is the thing. I'm not criticizing those books. And I have read my share of them. I spent a summer reading every Sweet Valley High book, right? I mean, just one after the other after the other. And it was enjoyable. I enjoy enjoyable things. They are enjoyable. But you can write, we all know that young adult fiction can be literary.
Yeah.
Because it can be written in a way that is deeply meaningful. Year after year, as you grow up, you can read it again and see more and more in it, right?
Yeah. Like Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Treasure Island.
Exactly. Or, any of the young adult books that win prizes, and because it's a way in which they're written. And I suppose people who are writing kind of mannerist crime that's not going to be realistic because crime is messy.
Yeah.
And people are at their worst. They make their worst decisions. They're at their least attractive. They're least appealing when they're in these situations.
Yeah.
And I think as a writer, that's more fascinating than writing somebody, who knows how to mix a martini and put on her pearls and solve a crime.
Yeah. I mean, Agatha Christie is great.
It's enjoyable.
And for other reasons.
Yes,
but certainly Hercule Poirot is not very realistic. No. And Miss Marple is not very realistic as a detective.
Well, even when you watch the recent movies with Poirot, the movie itself is stylized enough that it kind of invites you to suspend your disbelief, right? It invites you to say, come into this creation of ours. This is not reality. Yeah. Because if we're trying to present this person as real, we cannot do it, right? But it's enjoyable. So you need to leave some of your needs for reality at the door.
Yeah. Chandler, though,
wouldn't do it.
He wants it to be real.
It sounds fascinating.
He says that Dashiell Hammett was spare, frugal, hard-boiled, but he did over and over again what only the best writers can ever do at all. He wrote scenes that seemed never to have been written before. And so for him, realism was important, and language was really important. The most durable thing in writing, he said, is style.
That's interesting.
And he said he thought Hammett was very much like Hemingway in his style. And Chandler himself seems to want to write in that style.
He's inspired by it.
Yeah. Short.
He's in conversation with it.
Yeah. Short, declarative sentences, coordinating conjunctions, not subordinating conjunctions, because that shows you're evaluating things and not just giving the bare facts. Here's a paragraph from toward the end of the novel, The Big Sleep. You can see that description is all over this paragraph. The garage next door was dark. I crossed the gravel drive at a patch of sodden lawn. The road ran with small rivulets of water. It gurgled down a ditch on the far side. I had no hat. That must have fallen off in the garage. Canino hadn't bothered to give it back to me. He hadn't thought I would need it anymore. I imagined him driving back jauntily through the rain alone, having left the gaunt and sulky art and the probably stolen sedan in a safe place. Now there's a long sentence. She loved Eddie Mars, and she was hiding to protect him. So he would find her there when he came back, calm beside the light and the untasted drink, and me tied up on the Davenport. He would carry her stuff out to the car and go through the house carefully to make sure nothing incriminating was left. He would tell her to go out and wait. She wouldn't hear a shot. A blackjack is just as effective at short range. He would tell her he had left me tied up, and I would get loose after a while. He would think she was that dumb.
Yeah, I mean, that's very Hemingway, obviously.
Yeah.
And not exactly in sentence-to-sentence style, but there's a lack of emotion on the page, but it evokes emotion in the reader, which reminds me of Ishiguro, who's a very spare writer, and yet my emotional experiences of those novels is profound. I cry sometimes just thinking about When We Were Orphans because it's so emotional. It's so beautiful. And he isn't a manipulative writer, right? It's just the facts, ma'am.
Yeah.
But the facts told by a master provoke the emotion that a lesser writer tells you to have.
Yeah. It's all underneath, like Hemingway talked about the principle of the iceberg.
Right.
Where 90% of the meaning was under the surface.
And you give the detail that contributes to the reader experience that you want, right?
Yeah.
You don't give every detail, You choose the details that are going to create that experience, and this is masterful, obviously.
I love the sentence, he would think she was that dumb.
I know. Because it's presented as a fact, not, as you said, as an evaluation.
Yeah.
Right? And that...
But underneath the surface, it is an evaluation because it shows you how dumb he is.
Yeah.
Thinking she's that
Exactly,
dumb.
exactly. But it's not... It still is a fact. Like, he would think that.
Yeah.
Now we know something about him.
Yeah.
Right? But we're not told to think this.
Yeah.
It reminds me, as you know, I listen to a lot of, since we're on crime, I listen to a lot of true crime podcasts. And there's one that I thought I would like because the people presenting the information are an attorney and a journalist, but they give so much commentary after they present the stories. And the commentary isn't particularly insightful. It's kind of ad hominem attacks. And I just stopped listening to it because I was like, I will have a deeper response to that if you just keep your responses to yourself. Just tell me what's going on, Then
Shut your response hole.
Shut your response hole. That's what this episode should be called. This is such a great example, especially I think for student writers, of look at how little you can say and how big the response can be.
Yeah.
In the reader.
Yeah, I also love I had no hat.
I know that was my favorite line. I had no hat. I think there's a line in Kind Poe Talk that I love so much, and it's, beginnings are hard. There's so much in that sentence. It's 3 words. And when you read that sentence, you think of all the things you began that you struggled with, that were challenges, that you thought would be easier than they were, all the emotions that travel with that. And that you bring that all to the story he's telling, and he doesn't have to tell you any of it, right? He evokes the emotion with his well-chosen words.
Another example of the kind of suggestive nature of the writing is Chandler's use of the memorable simile. He uses these memorable similes that strike a kind of profoundly suggestive chord.
Yes.
By the surprising comparisons.
I love a memorable simile or metaphor.
For instance, he says, she lowered her lashes until they almost cuddled her cheeks and slowly raised them again like a theater curtain.
Oh, I got goosebumps. Yeah. That also, because it's so original, right? There's that's another thing that I work with beginning writers on, cliches, right?
Yeah.
It's almost impossible not to write them because we just think, okay, this is how everybody thinks of this. But truly memorable writing gives you a new way to think of something or to share, because you can imagine a theater curtain rising slowly and also the suspense of a theater curtain rising and the suspense of what's behind her eyes, right?
And also the fact that this is an act.
It's a performance.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's so much in it, again, just with the well-chosen simile.
Yeah.
Oh, that is wonderful.
Here's another one. Under the thinning fog, the surf curled and creamed almost without sound, like a thought trying to form itself on the edge of consciousness.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That reminds me of 2 things. Ted Hughes' poem, The Thought Fox. And also, I think it's a poem by, it might be Ted Kooser, about how the waves coming to the shore almost look like a herd of white cattle that dissolve in front of your eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, that sentence is almost a poem in itself.
Yeah, well, the writing is poetic because he uses metaphor and simile to evoke emotion.
Yeah. She bent over me again. Blood began to move around in me like a prospective tenant looking over a house.
Oh, my gosh. You'd like to see, I don't watch The Bachelor, but I can't imagine that they ever talk like that. That would be a wonderful line on a dating show. See, and also that shows you that he enjoys writing, right? The creativity of it is enjoyable for him because he's finding these kind of fun similes to put in. You know, no delight in the writer, no delight in the reader, right?
Yeah,
and there's obviously delight in the writer.
Yeah.
That's a Frost quote.
It was a smooth, silvery voice that matched her hair. It had a tiny tinkle in it, like bells in a doll's house.
Which is also kind of fake.
Yeah.
Right? It's a facsimile of a thing.
Yeah.
See, he's choosing all these things to give you the idea that this is not, what you see is not what you get.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
And one more.
Yes.
Then she laughed. It was almost a racking laugh. It shook her as the wind shakes a tree.
So that does feel real.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. What else do you love about this book?
Well, one other aspect of the style, that he'll end sentences very often with a kind of startling image or a surprising twist. I love this one. Neither of the two people in the room paid any attention to the way I came in, although only one of them was dead.
See, okay, again, it's the delight, the wit, the imagination.
Yeah.
But you can also see from your examples of style that his imagination of these events is three-dimensional, right? That he can see in his mind's eye so completely what is happening. Don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really the only way to be able to convey such a kind of mental experience to the reader. You have to think of it first, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then choose the exact right thing to describe. So is the crime like page-turning and interesting itself? Because, like I said, we read crime or listen to crime for plot, obviously.
Yeah. There's definitely a complex plot going on. And there are different angles to it, different strands of it that kind of come together in some way, ultimately, because the older sister's missing husband is connected to the earlier blackmail of the younger daughter, and the pornographer who he finds dead has been killed by somebody. Who it is, we don't know, and it all kind of comes together.
Mm-hmm.
But Chandler was not as interested in a clever plot as he was in character and in language, and sometimes some of the things in the plot don't necessarily come together. Like Howard Hawks, when he was making the movie. There's a scene in the book where the general's car is found having driven off the road into the water, and they found his chauffeur driving the car. But
no spoilers.
Well, they weren't sure how he died exactly. And when Hawks was making the movie, he talked to Chandler, and he told me he couldn't figure out who exactly had killed General Sherwood's chauffeur. And Chandler replied, honestly, he didn't know either.
So it's not even that the loops are left open, that there's no loop.
Yeah, well.
But honestly, that's reality.
Yeah.
One of the things you find, too, when you follow these crimes is that a lot of times you never get to find out why they did it, right? And that is fantastical, that a crime will be sewn up and you'll know everything about why it was done.
Yeah.
Because we just had the guilty plea for the Idaho murders, and the accused man pled guilty, and he was never required to say what he did or why. Which astounded me, but I guess that's what happens. And so people are still left guessing because he didn't know these people. So that kind of thing is much more realistic, which he said that's what interested him.
Yeah.
Because crime is interesting to many of us because it's foreign, right? It's a different world.
It also is,
it's messy and
yeah, but it also is a puzzle.
It's a puzzle. Obviously a mystery novel is a puzzle.
And the detective is someone on a quest to solve that puzzle.
Yeah.
Again, the character of Marlowe is significant. In the climax of that essay that he wrote that was in the Atlantic, he talks about the importance of the hero, basically. The realist in Murder writes of a world in which the gangsters can rule nations and almost rule cities. It is not a fragrant world, but it is a world you live in. But in everything that can be called art, there is a quality of redemption. It may be pure tragedy, if it is high tragedy, and it may be pity and irony, and it may be the raucous laughter of a strong man, but down these mean streets a man must go who is not himself mean, who is neither tarnished nor afraid. The detective in this kind of story must be such a man. He is the hero. He is everything. He must be a complete man and a common man and yet an unusual man. He must be, to use a rather weathered phrase, a man of honor, by instinct, by inevitability, without thought of it, and certainly without saying it. He must be the best man in his world and a good enough man for any world.
Wow.
So that's who Philip Marlowe is.
I like that idea of the unusual common man. He's normal enough to believe in and relate to, maybe, but also to be inspiring by his courage or his moral center, even if he is himself flawed, which is a profound philosophical idea. That you can be yourself morally flawed and yet provide an example of moral clarity or strength to others.
Yeah.
Which makes it literary and not plain.
Yeah. It's not just a genre book.
Which, again, I've read a lot of plain fiction. I enjoy it. It's enjoyable. But if it's a book that you come back to again and again, and the older you get and the more experiences you have, the more you get out of the book, then that's literary. And I agree with Chandler that it isn't the genre, it's the way. I don't agree with him that it's who, right? It's kind of fixed. It's the way in which it is written.
Well, but the way it's written is an extension of the who.
Yes, but what I'm saying is that you can learn to write in a deeper way.
That's true.
That's what I'm saying. I have taught creative writing. I wouldn't teach it if I thought that people couldn't learn how to do it.
Well, yes.
Hello, I'm cashing my check. You will come out of here the same way you came in.
But the who becomes somebody different once you've learned something.
Yes, I see what you're saying. Anyway, all right, we're arguing the same point. So, who might not like this novel?
Well, if you don't like realism, if you don't like crime, if you don't like messy R-rated stuff, which most of this kind of thing is, you might not like it.
I think I've not gravitated toward it because I guess I think of the tropes, which isn't fair to him. Like, people have riffed on his ideas without the depth of his ideas, I think. And I guess I haven't read it too because I think of it as very stylized. But what you've read has been delightful, honestly. So I think I probably have a misunderstanding of what it really is like, based on the, a copy of a copy of a copy.
Yeah.
And I feel like, we see so many kind of takeoffs of this hard-boiled detective. And I'm thinking that the copy of the copy of the copy is actually what's there, when actually it's something that is difficult to copy because it's truly artistic.
Yeah, but it does end up, you find not only a lot of similar kinds of stories with similar kinds of detectives, but you also see parodies a lot.
Yeah.
For instance.
Which also dilutes your perception.
Yeah, but The Big Lebowski is a hilarious parody.
But it's also, I would say it's also literary.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's so much symbolism in it.
Yeah.
Metaphor.
But The Big Lebowski is basically a takeoff on The Big Sleep.
Okay.
He goes to the guy's house. He's rich and all that, and he hires him to do this for his daughter. And,
that's fascinating.
Yeah.
All right. Well, where are we going to rank this novel on our ongoing list building?
Well, this, by the way, is a kind of major milestone.
Is it number 50?
This is book number 50.
Halfway there, friends.
In our study of the 100 most lovable novels in the English language.
If you've kept up your reading list, you're 50 books in. You only have 50 books left to read.
We're halfway home.
Oh, wow. We're really doing it. Okay.
And in honor of that, I'm going to put this at number 50.
Bless. It may end up at number 100 then, if it stays.
It's possible.
But of course, it beat thousands and thousands and thousands of other books just to get on the list.
Just to be on the list.
So, wonderful. Right. What's right before it? What's number 49?
His Dark Materials.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
Philip Pullman's
trilogy they snuck on there. All right. Well, fascinating. This was a great discussion. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that to us.
Well, it's time then for Chaos Reader.
Oh my gosh. I have to sell that sound effect to TikTok. Okay. So what I'm perusing now is a book called Retiring to France because we are considering retiring to France. So I'm just...
But we'll still keep up our...
We're never letting the pod go.
Podcast.
So this book is interesting. One of our friends gave it to us, who has recently bought a home in France, and she knows that we're interested in doing something similar. So she gave me this book. I like it, but I would say that one of the things I'm finding already is that it's written by a British person for British retirees, and that is very different. Although I think it might be a little more similar now with Brexit.
Yeah.
And I am very waspy. So I'm very British in my kind of manner and cultural norms, So some of it still is relatable. But in terms of, some of the kind of legal immigration how-to is not as helpful. But I am getting some good information from it, so I'm enjoying it. And it's just some of these books, you read a how-to book because you want to imagine yourself doing it, even if, you don't know if it'll happen. And that's fun. So that's what Chaos Reader is up to this week.
All right. Well, when you imagine yourself, is it in color or is it in black and white?
It's in color. In France, it's in color.
All right.
If I were retiring to Siberia, it would be in gray and white.
Okay, then.
All right. Well, we'd like to thank our podcasting sensei, Jerry Bruno, who does our art for the YouTube cover art for us there and did all of the art graphics for the show and continues to help us and let us know ways that we can improve. So we thank him for all of his time that he's given us. And we thank our listeners and viewers around the world.
Yes.
And this week, I'd particularly like to thank our YouTube subscribers because we're kind of slowly ticking up there. And I think if we get 1,000 YouTube subscribers, then we can start to actually get paid by YouTube.
And that'll really help us retire to France.
That's right. We can buy a croissant.
Professionally made croissant.
Un croissant. Un croissant. But it does help us, even if you're not on YouTube that much, if you just go on YouTube and subscribe to our Between the Covers podcast, that helps us out a lot. And so we would like to thank in this episode our YouTube subscribers. We see you. We really appreciate you. Every time that number goes up, we're really, really happy. So thank you very much.
We do a celebratory dance around this table.
We do. So continue to share us. Thank you for listening.
And I would like to thank anybody listening in France.
Yes,
I think we only had
en France.
I think we only had like 2 or something in France. But if they know we're coming, maybe they'll start listening more.
That's right. We may be broadcasting from France someday. So thank you again, and we'll see you next week. Between the Covers.